you doing? Wow, FutureStack London, this is like kind of amazing. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm really proud to be here. I want to thank Andy for inviting me here. I want to thank everyone at New Relic for inviting me here. I'm not going to talk about any of the hidden stuff in Addison Lee. I'm not even going to talk much about Addison Lee. What I thought I would do, because I've got about 20 minutes and I'm actually going to be keeping you from lunch or going to the hackathon booth or whatever. What I thought I would do, I'd talk a little bit about two words that seem to get bandied around everywhere at the moment. Digital and transformation. They're probably the most bandied about two words other than Boris and Brexit. Or maybe not, maybe that is different. I brought some notes with me because I thought this was important. You guys are really, really important. You've taken a lot of time out of your days to come here. This is not going to be the most technical session you ever see today. So no opening laptop. Is everyone okay and comfortable, by the way? You've been sitting for about an hour and a bit. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean that. Bye, thanks. Anyway, let's crack on, because they say I haven't got loads of time here. For those of you who don't know me and didn't recognize the picture, that was me up there. My name's Cohen. I am the Chief Product and Technology Officer for Addison Lee Group. We're owned by Carlyle, the big private equity company. So I've got a number of things to do, talk to you about digital transformation. I've got to sort the cars out for later. I'm doing a pickup in Hendon, but that should be all okay. A little bit of background about me, and I'll use that to bring some context to what I'm going to talk about. Before Addison Lee, I led this thing called a portfolio life. And I genuinely didn't know it was a portfolio life. I just thought I was having fun and enjoying myself. But what I did back then, I worked for a load of really, really interesting companies. I'm still on the board of some startups in the UK, some scale-out businesses. I did corporate advisory for some large brands, and even did some sales coaching as well, which was kind of fun. But for most of my career, because I am incredibly old, I've worked in the corporate world. And for about 15 years of my time in the corporate world, I was called a C something. Now, most of the time that was a polite description, but I committed a number of misdemeanors, and I tended to commit them with some of those brands up there that I'm sure most of you will recognize. But what's really interesting to me, and I hope will be interesting to you, is actually the difference that there was between my early life working in the corporate world and my kind of portfolio life. Because everything I did in my corporate life was linear. It was sequential. It was do one job, then make it a bit bigger, then build another team, then do another job, then, and then rinse and repeat and move on. The 3 years when I worked in the sort of startup and scale-out space was entirely different. It was much, much smaller. It was insanely networked and connected. And what it did, it challenged me as an individual to learn. I had to adapt and become responsive to my clients. I had to be open to all kinds of new opportunities, wherever they might arise. I had to be connected. In this world, most of my clients knew each other, and they were sharing, and they were co-creating and collaborating. Now, I'm going to come back to these characteristics because I think they're kind of important. Excuse me. But as I say, what I've been asked to come and talk to you about is this whole kind of digital narrative thing. And I thought I'd start off with these great two words, digital and transformation. And what I'm going to try and do, it's not a personal crusade, but I'm going to try and actually give some meaning to this whole digital stuff and give it some context. I don't know how many CIOs I've got in the room. I won't do the show of hands. You guys did too many show of hands in the last session. But I can pretty much guarantee if I put 10 CIOs in a room and asked them what digital transformation meant to them, I'd get 12 answers. And I think that the phrase is becoming almost meaningless. So what I did when I was putting this deck together, I thought, I'll go and ask my friend Google, because I always go and ask my friend Google. He's so much help. Just for some definitions, and you can try this. You may not get the same answers because, frankly, my browser history is probably a little different to yours. Thank you. But if you type in, what is digital transformation, you get a whole load of answers come back. And they're pretty poor, I've got to tell you. ZDNet, our friends at ZDNet. Digital transformation involves using digital technology to remake processes become more efficient and effective. Citrix, digital transformation is the strategic adoption of digital technologies to improve processes, manage risk, blah, blah. And even our good friends at Gartner, digital transformation is the process of exploiting digital technologies to create. I mean, I could go on, but basically what they're saying to us is digital transformation is doing a bunch of stuff digitally to be digital. I paid a lot for that, and it's not that helpful. So on the way here, I thought, well, I'll ask somebody else. I'll ask another font of wisdom, a sort of an opinionated soul, but not overly opinionated, what they thought of digital transformation. And I got this. Well, it's a bit like doing stuff on your phone, mate, like you used to do on your computer, but you do it on your phone now, isn't it? You can tell I'm Scottish. He also then gave me 20 minutes on Brexit. He told me why Uber drivers are the spawn of Satan. And he came up with some really, really interesting descriptions about Mayor Khan, but I can't use them here. But actually, to be honest, doing stuff on your phone that you used to do on your computer isn't bad. There's a bit of mobile in there. There's a bit of occasionally connected commerce. It's better than doing a bunch of digital stuff with digital to be digital. It's a little bit more insightful, I would have thought. But if you look a bit deeper at the whole transformation piece, what's really interesting, and it's nice to be introduced as someone who's involved in transformation. We are genuinely trying to transform Addison Lee. But it's not a complete transformation. We still have cars, we still have drivers, we still have passengers. We're just changing the nature of what we do. And certainly for a lot of the customers that I had and I used to work with, when we talked about digital transformation, they didn't really want to transform. They didn't really want to transform, because if you go and look up what transform actually means, this idea of essentially becoming something completely different, leaving the old behind to become something entirely new, then most organizations don't want to be that. They don't want to do that. They want to do some change for sure. They want to change some of their processes. They may want to change the way they interact with their clients and their customers. They may want to change some technology. But those are the more insightful ones. A lot of them are just doing digital because a very expensive consultant came in and told them to. And it would be alarming if it wasn't actually so true. Have I got salespeople in the room? Okay, give me a quick show of hands. Okay, that's a small enough group that I can annoy you. I'll apologize in advance, and I'm sure you guys don't do this, but, you know, I mean, you know as well as I do, everywhere we're going, digital is the answer, which is actually the title of this talk. But the problem is, no one's actually asking you the right question. And it doesn't matter anyway, because digital is the answer. It's okay, McKinsey told me it was the answer, and I paid them handsomely for that advice. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't actually so dangerous. Because those self-same gurus, those soothsayers of technology sales, are the same ones that are now running around telling us that artificial intelligence is the answer to all of our prayers. And I'm pretty sure I saw the same people coming into my office telling me that cloud was going to change my life and was going to solve the Middle East conflicts. It was going to cure all disease and was going to be the way to end all hunger in the world. Actually, no, that last one is blockchain, but I'll come back to that. The fact is, the more you come up, you have to understand the answer. You have to ask the right questions to get to the answer. And for most organizations, it's certainly been true of every organization that I've worked in, the right question is, what kind of organization do you want to be? Now, I'm not going to get all philosophical about this. frankly, you can choose whatever reference point you like. Socrates, to be is to do. Jean-Paul Sartre, to do is to be. Frank Sinatra, show my age. The point is, the point is, if you're going to do any kind of transformation, if you're going to do anything that is going to change the nature of your business, you need to understand what you want to be and then do things to get there. You overtly decide, I want to be this kind of organization, and then you do things to get there. You don't do stuff and hope you get there in the end. Frankly, I mean, that's strategy 101, isn't it? But we kind of threw it all away when digital came along. Everyone kind of forgot this basic premise. And I'm not, I'm old, but I'm not a soothsayer. But we're running around, people are running around doing stuff. They're doing digital transformation programs. They're paying Deloitte and Accenture squillions of pounds, and perish the thought they're even going out and hiring chief digital officers. Don't get me started on that one. But they've got no real clue, or at least they haven't defined what they want to be at the end of this. So what I'm going to try and do, because I'm looking at that little clock down there, and it's going way too fast. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and give some of this some context. And I'm going to try and do it for the next few slides without using the D word. What I'm going to try and do is contextualize this whole space that we operate in, and then I'm going to try and just wrap up with a few observations, maybe some advice. It's not for me to give you advice, but hopefully I'll give you some observations anyway. So what I'm going to start with why I think we're at a genuinely different time. It's a different moment in our lives, and what I'm going to try and then do is contextualize that if I can. Because probably the biggest shift in all of this is actually the shift from 20th century to traditional business models to 21st century new business models. And the big characteristic of that shift is this move from things that were predictable to things that were unpredictable. I mean, you'd agree with me, life's become increasingly unpredictable, right? I mean, in the past, there were some unwavering certainties in life. That, for example, our brightest and our best and our most accomplished individuals would rise to the highest levels of public office, would bring order to chaos, and possibly now things are just that little bit different. But the world of business is actually exactly the same, and business models have become increasingly unpredictable. Because back in the day, traditional business was predictable. It didn't change much. If you decided to do something, you would do it with ruthless efficiency. And you would do it with predictability based on a certainty that pretty much everybody else was doing roughly the same kind of thing that you were doing. And so we focused on consistency and reliability. In fact, pretty much the latter part of the 20th century was all about how do I become a more efficient business? And we learned Lean and Six Sigma, and we counted defects, and we tried to do it with fewer people. And we tried to have even fewer defects, and we kept building. And if we built in manufacturing, we would build plants, and we'd ship those plants around the world, and we put people in those plants, and we would sell, and we would get out there, and we would do more. And it was kind of an inside-out kind of world. It was all about scale. It was all about us doing stuff and giving it out to people. It's a bit like English people going on holiday. We go somewhere, we say a few things, people don't understand, so we just say them louder. We built products, people didn't use our products, or they did use our products, we didn't care, we just built more products, and we got them out there, and hey, it'll be fun, it'll be great, it'll be amazing. But then the world changed. And it's really, really upsetting when that happens. But the world did change, and we became a world that was dominated by data and insight and technology. And as people became more connected, the business became more dynamic. And things that happened on one side of the world immediately affected things that happened on the other side of the world. Suddenly, the world was not about how big you could be, but how fast you could be. It was about how quickly you could adapt and evolve your products and services, and even evolve your company. It wasn't about building something with ruthless efficiency anymore. It was how quickly and how rapidly you could iterate and innovate your products. We've talked about product innovation here with New Relic. I mean, the speed of product innovation, it's not about ruthless efficiency anymore. That's a given. Now it's about speed. And suddenly you don't know who your competitors are. Your competitors can come from anywhere. They're nibbling away at your business. They're not coming head on anymore. It's not big motor company A attacking big motor company B. It's startup bank nibbling away at major bank, just saying, I'll take your loan book because I can do that, or I'll just take your credit business. It's small, nimble, innovative companies coming to eat your lunch. Suddenly, everything that was predictable has become unpredictable. I heard it described beautifully in a presentation recently, and my innovation is that I just steal shamelessly from other people. But it was described beautifully. The guy said, if you think about 20th century business models and the business models of the past, they were like looking for an object on a table in a well-lit room. You know what the object is, you can see the object, you just go and get the object. And you get it as quickly as you can or as fast as you can. Modern business is completely different. It's a dark room. You can't see the object, but you still want it. You still got to get there. And you've still got to get there quickly. But suddenly you can't take those giant leaps that you used to take in the old business models. Suddenly, you have to take small steps. You have to test and learn. You have to collaborate. You have to ask questions. You have to feel around. Suddenly, it's a completely different type of business. So, if that's what's going on around us, how do you adapt to it? Well, one of the biggest adaptations, I think, in current business is this idea of instant feedback. Never before have we been able to understand the needs and wants of our customers and our partners than now. The ability to, in real time, understand what's going on in our markets. So organizations have had to become really, really powerful listening organizations with incredible radar. Not just to listen to the market, but to listen to their competitors, to listen to their partners, to genuinely become different types of organizations. So just to recap, some of the terms I've used, and you'll see how this stuff just slides together so seamlessly. I've mentioned being able to respond to changing customer demands and how you might adapt accordingly. I've talked about being insight-driven and mentioned collaboration and connected behavior, but I still haven't dropped that D word yet. But I'm about to do it now. Suddenly, just doing that digital transformation, implementing some newfangled CRM system, just doesn't seem to cut it. Even running that digital transformation program doesn't quite sound right anymore. What does sound right is, what type of organization do I want to be? Do I want to be responsive, agile, and adaptable? Do I want to use these kind of terms to describe the kind of organization I want to be, the kind of organization that I want technology to help me become? Now, normally about now, I would be doing some stuff on responsive and adaptive, but I say we are relatively short of time, and I'm going a little bit over, so I'm going to speed this bit up. But there is some research out there about what organizations that are doing this right tend to look like. And it comes from a company called the Leading Edge Forum. They're a really good organization not because I used to work for them. They're just an interesting organization. The research is out there. But they talk about organizations that have the mindset to be able to do this. And they talk about organizations that have engaged executives, leaders who genuinely believe now technology matters, that don't wear their lack of technology understanding as a badge of honor. They talk about a new type of organization, an organization that is outside in. I talked about inside out and English people shouting. This is outside in. This is connected, collaborative organizations working and building products and services that you define with your customers in ecosystems. It talks about new organizational structures and employees. It uses a phrase, double deep employee. I absolutely hate it. I'm really, really sorry. But the idea is correct, that in these new constructs, you don't have technology functions and business functions. You have commercially savvy technologists and technically competent business people, and they work together in new organizations and new structures and in new ways. And of course, you have to revitalize your enterprise IT, because that's where a lot of your systems of record live anyway. And having one of these doesn't work. If you've got a great CEO who has a vision but doesn't have the people to execute it, it won't work. If you rebuild your back-end systems and don't re-architect your front-end systems, it won't work. If you go down a product-led organization and then don't re-engineer the back-end, it won't work. You have to get these things working together. And it's almost like two axes, the vertical axis being people, the horizontal being technology. And what's been really interesting listening to the conversations here and listening to Ken speak is actually that's entirely what New Relic 1 is opening up for you guys. This idea of being forward-thinking and front foot on a design-driven, experience-led platform, something that your customers can configure. It's all about outside-in thinking and a highly adaptable architecture around moving from an application program management standpoint to an outside-in customer standpoint. So, digital and digital transformation. I'm going to wrap up because I've run out of time. Let me just leave you with some thoughts. Hopefully what I've done is I've explained that you can do this digital thing without actually having to dive for the D word. That actually some of the best conversations you're going to have are when you talk about what an organization wants to be. There's a hashtag out there. It's got 4 probably retweets. Go retweet it. Go and use it. Don't do digital. No one needs to do digital. What we need to do is be different. We need to help organizations understand how to be different organizations. Our own organizations, our customers' organizations. We need to tell stories about what it would be like to be responsive to customer needs, to be adaptable and agile and move quickly at the pace of our markets. We need to be able to be insight-driven, and we need to be collaborative. And if you're having those conversations, either with your customers or inside your organizations, you're going to be having different kinds of conversations. If not, you can just tell them the answer is blockchain. That's all I've got. Thank you very much.